Hello and welcome to the Elan Made Book Club. Today I want to give you an update on my diversity book bingo. If you're not familiar, this is a year-long reading challenge that I host, and I will leave links to the announcement video in the description, as well as the Storygraph challenge and the Discord and all of that in case you want to join. It's not too late, even though we were halfway into the year. You can sort of customize it to fit your own reading style and pace and all of that. The point is just to read books from different parts of the world and with different kinds of representation. And then there's also a bingo board with prompts, some of which are, a bit more strict or like serious, like nonfiction, and others are more for fun, like colorful, that are more like open to interpretation. I have done an update video for the first 3 months of the year, which I will leave a link to in the description as well. But this video is going to be books that I have read in April, May, June, and probably like the first half of July. Is there a mosquito in here or what's buzzing? Something's buzzing. I have my notebook here with my bingo spread, and I'm gonna go row by row. And the first book that I have to add is Strange Pictures by Uketsu, which is a Japanese horror mystery novel. And this one I'm counting for the booktuber recommendation prompt. I have definitely seen this one all over booktube. I know that Nicky at my Messy Bookshelf specifically has read these and loved these. There are a couple more similar to this, Strange Houses and Strange Buildings, but I have only read this one and I'm counting it for this prompt. I don't think it has a lot of representation, but I'm counting it for the continent of Asia since it's set in Japan and written by a Japanese author. The next prompt is Joy, and for that I'm counting Spiraling by Cal Speet, which is a contemporary novel about a young gay man who is spiraling after the breakup with his boyfriend after a scandalous event, and he is dealing with that and, with a little help from his friends, working his way through that. And yeah, this was just a very joyous read. It was very nostalgic about like being in your 20s and going out on the weekend and hanging out with your friends. It's funny and heartwarming, and yeah, I just had a great time reading it. So that fits for the prompt, Joy. And as this is set in London, I'm counting it for the continent of Europe, and it also counts for the LGBTQIA+ representation, since we're following a gay man and his dating life. Next, I have Elena Knows by Claudia Piñeiro, which is a crime novel with a lot of social commentary set in Argentina and written by an Argentinian author. And I'm counting this one for the prompt Generation. This is a mother looking to clear up the death of her daughter. The police have ruled it a suicide and she's convinced otherwise. And I also think that there's a lot of like the themes in here, some of them are on a bigger scale, but some of the things covered in this one also have to do with generation and things that are passed on through generations and mothers and daughters and things like that. So yeah, I think that fits the prompt. It's also counting for the continent of South America and also for disability, since the main character is dealing with Parkinson's disease, and that is a very prominent part of the story, and how she is able to move or not move and how she gets through this quest that she's on with this disability in mind. I read Good People by Patmeena Sabit, which I had out from the library, and I'm counting that for the 2026 release prompt. And it also counts for minority, since it's about this Afghan family in the US, and it's about their community and how the cultures blend together or don't. And it's a story told through a myriad of voices in this community, and neighbors and friends and colleagues and old family friends and just people who are connected to this central family in the story. And then something tragic happens and we see how everyone sort of reacts and what they think about it and how they justify or condemn or things like that. I really enjoyed that book as well. And I'm also counting it for the continent of North America since it's set in the US. And also for the religion prompt since it deals a lot with that and how that affects the reactions of people to this event. On the fourth row, I have added Lightseekers by Femi Kayode, which is a mystery thriller set in Nigeria and written by a Nigerian author. This follows also a community. This follows a psychological. This follows an investigative psychologist who is looking into the reasons why a mob in this small town decided to torture and burn 3 young male students. He's given this task by one of the fathers of one of the students, and we come along on this investigation and talking to people and finding things out and looking through materials. And I really enjoyed this story as well. And I'm counting it for the prompt broken. I chose it for that before I had read it, but I still think that it fits. And for this prompt, you can read a book with something broken on the cover, the word broken in the title, or if you just like associate something in the story with something that's broken, a broken heart, and in this case, a broken society, or like broken, something has broken when 3 young people are tortured and killed. I don't think I counted this for any of the diversity prompts, but I am counting it for the continent of Africa. I'm really happy I finally got around to reading this one and would definitely recommend it. And then we have a 5-star read. And for this, I am counting On Earth as It Is Beneath by Paula Maia, translated by Padma Viswanathan. This is set in a sort of abandoned prison in Brazil. Well, it's not abandoned. There are still prisoners and staff there, but they are not very many. The warden has some issues, and every full moon night he decides to sort of release one of the prisoners and hunt them. It's a very horrific and thrilling story, and I just enjoyed it so much. I think it has a lot of layers, and it also is a very fast-paced and engaging read, and so that's why I gave it 5 stars. It just had a lot of components that I really enjoyed, and I definitely want to read more from this author. I don't think I counted this one for any of the diversity prompts either, but I am counting it for South America. The last prompt on this row is mental health, and for this prompt you can read a book that touches on that subject in some way, either fiction or nonfiction. If that's not something that you're comfortable with, you are free to just read a book that is good for your mental health, whatever that means for you. I went with 5 by Ilona Bannister, and I wasn't expecting to, but after having read it, I think that it fits. It deals with mental health in a lot of different ways. In this book, we follow 5 characters who are all on this platform waiting for a train that is due to arrive in 5 minutes. And we know at the start of the book that one of these characters is going to die within those 5 minutes. And then we get each of these 5 characters' backstories, their childhoods and their lives and what they have been through, their flaws and their good qualities and their relationships to people. And we just get a lot of information about all of these characters. They are all dealing with tough things in life in different ways. That's why I counted it for the mental health prompt. I'm also counting it for the disability prompt. There is some representation of that in the book, as well as neurodivergence. There's a character or a couple of characters that I would say are dealing with different kinds of neurodivergence that has definitely affected their life, and I think it was a very good representation of that. I don't want to say too much because it's a very good book, I thought. So I would recommend that you read it. And if you do, I want you to, discover those things yourself. But I'm counting it for that. And also for the continent of Europe, as it is set in Britain somewhere. The trains to London, I think we're at. Okay, so for the next row, I am counting Homebound by Portia Elan. For the prompt buddy read or read along. This is a book that I read with Pat at Book Chat with Pat, and it is a science fiction novel with a mix of a lot of different things. I had a great time with this book. I thought it was fantastic. And we follow a few different characters in a few different timelines. We have this teenage girl in the 1980s who is grieving her uncle, who was sort of a mentor to her and taught her about video game programming. And so he has left this video game for her to complete on these floppy disks. And then we have a couple of timelines further in the future. We have one in like 2080 or something, and then one that's like 2580. And one of them follows a professor at a university, or like a scientist in her work. And in the latest timeline, the 2580 something, we are on this ship because the world looks a lot different due to, you know, climate change and things. That is more of a like sea adventure, but these are all sort of connected in different ways. And yeah, I'm gonna talk more about this book in a wrap-up or something. But yeah, I had a fantastic time reading this, and I was along for the ride, and I just thought it was great. I think the cover matches the vibe of the book very well, and so I'm always happy when that happens because it just makes sense in my head. If I were to count it for a continent, I would say North America, but I don't think that it specifically like is about life there or whatever. But I am counting it for the LGBTQA plus prompt. That is a part of one of the timelines and a pretty prominent part. And so, yeah, I'm counting it for that. It also says that the author lives in the San Francisco Bay Area with her wife and an abundance of cats. So that also counts for the LGBTQA plus prompt. Yeah, highly recommend this one. This one was a lot of fun. If I hadn't already put something for joy, and if I wasn't buddy reading this, I could definitely have put it on that. Or a 5-star read. And then I have 2 more books to add. The first one I read for the prompt ambiguous because of the title, which is The Bitch by Pilar Quintana. And this is translated by Lisa Dillman from the Spanish. And this one is set, I forget, Colombia, and it's written by a Colombian author. It is very short, and it is also like set like there's a lot of margin on these pages, and so it was a very quick read. I would not recommend this to people who find it difficult to read about animals not being treated well. Maybe steer clear of this story, which is about this woman who wants to have children but struggles with that, and then someone she knows has a litter of puppies and she decides to take one of them. And then we are just following along as she is caring for this dog. It's a rough read at some points, but I loved it and I flew through it. It had things to say about the society there and about being a woman and about being a mother, and I don't know, there were just a lot of little details in this that made it a good read for me. So I really enjoyed it, but yeah, a caution for people who are sensitive to read about that sort of thing. I'm not counting it for any of the diversity prompts, but I am counting it for the continent of South America. And then the final book that I am adding to my bingo board is Fever Dream by Samanta Schweblin, which is translated from the Spanish as well by Megan McDowell. This one is also very like sparsely written in terms of words on the page, and it does read like a fever dream. We follow this woman called Amanda, and she is just in a hospital bed and doesn't seem to be aware of what has happened to make her be there. And there's this person next to her asking questions, and so the book sort of reads like a dialogue between these two characters, and she's trying to tell the story of what happened and where it all started and where things went wrong. And she's asking for her daughter, Nina, because she doesn't seem to be there, and so where is her daughter? And it is creepy and weird, and I loved it. And I'm counting this for the prompt translated. It doesn't specifically say where it's set, but I am assuming that it is set in South America. It feels very hot and sticky, and like the environment feels Argentinian, and there are horses. And yeah, it's just giving that vibe. The author doesn't live there. I think it says that she lives in Berlin. But like, that's fine. It can still count for the continent of South America. I just haven't put it down as that yet, but I think I probably will. Yeah, I really enjoyed this one. It wasn't as scary as I was expecting it to be, but definitely creeped me out at a couple of points. These are the books that I have added to my bingo board in the last quarter. I don't think I have a bingo yet, which is kind of weird because I feel like I have a lot of fulfilled squares. Overall, I'm pretty happy with my progress. I would love to hear how you are doing on your bingo board, if you are participating in the challenge, or if any of these books that I have mentioned sound good to you, and how you are finding this challenge so far. I think that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it and found some value in it. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you're having a fantastic day, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.